Hey, Brent here. Wanted to talk today about what happens if you are purchasing a home and the appraisal comes in a little bit lower than the purchase price. This has been kind of a hot topic here this year with the drastic increase in home values and the limited supply on the market. Run into this fairly often where the concern is I'm putting in an offer on a home and I'm willing to pay X amount even if the home does not appraise for that amount. So in years past, not a very normal thing in the market, but we're seeing that quite a bit now just with all of the influx of buyers and limited properties that are on the market currently. So wanted to talk a little bit about how that works and how that would affect you if you were to purchase a home and the appraisal comes in a little bit lower than anticipated or lower than the purchase price. So basically two options or two ways that things can play out if the appraisal comes in low. And typically what we're referring to is the gap in the difference between what you're purchasing the home for and what it appraises for on the actual appraisal report from an independent third party. So let's assume for this case you're purchasing a home for $300,000 and the appraisal comes in $10,000 below that at $290,000, so $290,000. We'll assume both the buyer and the seller agreed that if that were to happen, the buyer would be responsible for picking up that difference in the gap, so that $10,000. Let's also assume that the buyer was planning on making a down payment of 20%, so $60,000 on a $300,000 purchase. And now that the appraisal came in lower, wondering what the options look like at that point. So with the appraisal coming in at $290,000, to get the 20% down payment and to avoid that PMI insurance that we hear so much about, that buyer would actually need to put 20% down on the $290,000, so $58,000, and then also make up the difference or that gap of the $10,000 in cash. So a total of $68,000 cash down for a down payment to be able to avoid what's called PMI insurance on a conventional loan. So if that buyer did not want to do that, they could also, instead of making the 20% down payment and coming up with this $68,000, they could actually just pay PMI insurance and have that for a limited period of time and still purchase the home with that same $60,000 down. So kind of a tough one to explain in a real short video, but really you've got some options if you're making more than the minimum required down payment and the difference on the appraisal is minimal. A lot of times you can just increase what's called your loan to value, maybe an increased amount of PMI coverage or the need to have PMI insurance will still accomplish the purchase with no additional funds out of pocket. The one caveat to that, or the thing that you'd run into, is if you are going up to the maximum allowable, what we call loan to value or LTV. If you were to do that and the appraisal would come in low, you're going to need to pay that additional amount in cash. So in our scenario where it came in at $290,000 on a $300,000 purchase, if you were already financing the maximum amount on that property, you would need then to pay that additional $10,000 in cash. Typically your own cash from checking or savings, a gift from a family member, or selling some additional asset to be able to come up with that $10,000 difference in our scenario. So it can get pretty confusing. The big takeaway, if you've got questions on that, you can let us know. Feel free to reach out, run that scenario by our team, or reach out to the lender that you're working with and just run that past them. Before you put in your offer, make sure you know what you're signing up for. If that appraisal were to come in a little bit lower, that you know how you're going to cover that. Typically it's with an additional cash investment or some tweaks to the way your loan is set up. So again, if you've got questions, let me know. I'd love to help you out with that. Hopefully you found this helpful. If you know of someone else that's purchasing a home, please share this with them, and we will talk to you again soon. Thanks.